But I want to ask you, like, was Raya at fault? Like, did you think that like his positioning was poor? Because he was looking, I think, as at a
Yeah,
cross, but then he ends up getting kind of like chipped. So what is your
yeah.
feelings on that? And yes, we're
Well,
getting
at
into the
first,
Raya section. So
yeah, I was gonna say, do you know what? I was gonna say, should we conflate everything together? Right. So
sure.
I feel like at first I was a little bit annoyed with Raya because his positioning just didn't look great. Now, someone did make a good point, and I
Sure.
can see the logic in what they're saying. With he's
Hmm.
really dominant when he comes for crosses. He does make me feel safe and secure in that aspect because he's so good at coming and taking crosses out of the air or taking balls out of the air from crosses and high balls into the box. Even Everton away, he did the same thing. Bournemouth away, he did the same thing. The first half of Lens, sorry, did the same thing again. So in that
Sure.
aspect, yeah, but it was still bad positioning. Like no matter how you want to look at it, it was still really bad positioning. And he's got a
Hmm.
problem with positioning because again, if you look at the goal that we conceded against Spurs, the goal that Son's goal, he wasn't in the right place. It's really hard to describe, but he was just a little bit too kind of at the edge of the post. So it was just
Hmm.
really poor positioning from him. But I just I look at the goal. It was fluky. Like I don't really want to concentrate on Mudryk because he's like whatever. He's whatever kind of player. But I just look at him as Raya as a keeper, and I'm not convinced. I can talk about Man City. I can talk about um. I can talk about Tottenham. Really nervous. Second half really good. Funny enough, against Man City, second half really good. Now he gets all the loving from Arteta, and Arteta says this is what I'm asking him to do, and he's basically came out and said in so many words, Ramsdale has basically put me in positions where I wanted to sub him because he's kicked the ball long too many times and he's not kept the ball on the floor and lot short passing and stuff like that. But I just feel it's so unfair what's happening, and
Yeah.
the mistakes that we're seeing from Raya, we're seeing so many mistakes so early on that we didn't see from Ramsdale. Now, I remember in the first season that Ramsdale came in last season, one of them big mistakes. I don't know if you remember. We played for West Leicester at home. I think that was the second game, and he got beat by the near post by Madison, actually, coincidentally. But
Mm.
he was so good for such a long stretch, and then near the end, it was like the kicking started to become a little bit of a problem, and I think he kind of would lose a bit of concentration and stuff like that. But that performance against Liverpool away, I've never seen Raya make any saves like that. I've never seen Raya make anything near a performance like that. So if you're asking me who's got the better level, I think it's very, very clear. Ramsdale was the better keeper. So when everybody keeps giving me and I had this big back and forth with Turkish and when we was at AFTV, and he showed me that all of these stats were really, really good for Raya, and his short passing, his long passing. But sometimes you can tell me all the stats in the world, but what do you see? I see a keeper who doesn't really look good at shot stopping. He doesn't look good when it's the short passing. It doesn't look good at long passing on a consistent basis, because we can't keep talking about just the second half, because what about the first half? So I just and in these big moments, I'm not seeing these world or like game changing saves. But with Ramsdale, I've seen these game changing saves. I've seen these moments where he's been really big and really clutch in those big moments. So
So, and here's my thing is I don't have as big of an emotional attachment to Ramsdale as other people because at the end of last season, I felt like I had just watched an entire season of a goalkeeper that had dropped a level or two. In terms of his passing out from the back, I thought it was either agricultural in the way that he was doing it, which is just kicking it long, or he just didn't seem confident. And like when you're saying the whole back line looks shaky, I think the whole back line looks really shaky with Ramsdale back there. And I think the only times that we don't look shaky with Ramsdale back there is when he's kicking it long. Because if he's doing what Raya is being asked to do, which is sit back there, wait as long as possible, and then pass it, I think Ramsdale does the exact same things, and that's why he doesn't do it. So let's talk about like the mistakes that, Raya's supposedly made, which like Julian Alvarez chance, you could argue that Gabriel makes a bad pass, but I'll give them that. Like, fine. Like, he should have done something different. Cole Palmer, 100% a shaky moment. Fluke goal, let's say that he was bad positioning. Lon's goal, I think he definitely is at fault there. For me, like, I do think that when your emotions are attached to a situation like it is with Ramsdale, it's important to look at the stats, because it's like, emotionally, like, if Ramsdale was in the same situation as Raya was, passing up in the back with Julian Alvarez right there, and the crowd being nervous because it's Manchester City, I don't think anything different happens. I've seen Ramsdale get caught out like that plenty of times, where he's trying to kick it out from the back and they nick it. I've seen that before. But why aren't the stats showing that Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper? I think that's kind of like my overall feeling is, if Ramsdale is the better goalkeeper and Reyes made all these mistakes, all the mistakes that we've laid out, why is it such that, like, not only from the playing out from the back standpoint, but even the save percentage, like, I'll just put this out here that, like, and I'll put the graph up here, but like, at Arsenal, so not even at Brentford, right? At Arsenal, David Reyes' save percentage is 71%. And Aaron Ramsdale's in the same amount of games played for Arsenal, 4 at the beginning of the season, is 55%. Why? Like, if Ramsdale is a better shot stopper, which is what everybody's saying, like, he's going to save, and Raya doesn't give us any confidence. Why is the save percentage almost 15% bigger? Alisson Becker is at 77% save percentage. Raya is at 71, and Ramsdale is at 55. It just, for me, I'm like, I need the stats to be statin if we're going to remove Raya from the situation to give Ramsdale back his spot. Now, you could say, I've heard this before too, like, oh, Ramsdale played with the not as good defense. He was playing with Thomas Partey as the right back and Ben White and no Gabriel. Let's just say that that's true, right? And the defense is different. And that's the reason why. Still, Ramsdale's save percentage last season was 68%, and Raya's was 77%. Ramsdale played with the good defense all last season. So why is Raya closer to Alisson Becker
Can I
and
just ask you
Ederson,
a question
and Ramsdale is not?
about
Yeah,
those
yeah,
stats?
yeah,
Now, those stats back up all what you're saying, right? And yeah, maybe look, I'm coming from it from a point of, yeah, there is an emotional attachment, as well as I do think
yeah,
he's a better keeper. But can I just ask you, when
yeah.
you look at the two keepers, who do you actually think is the better keeper?
The question that you're asking me is, who do I think is the better goalkeeper,
When you
right?
look at them, yeah, like when you
When I look at
look at
them, I'll tell you straight up, I don't rate Ramsdale as much as other people. I had huge concerns last season.
wow,
And
wow.
here's my reason why is, I think Ramsdale is a good young goalkeeper, but I have a very big issue with almost every single every single chance that anybody had at the beginning of this season went in the back of the net. Every single one. He didn't save anything. It's just, everything was going in the back of the net. Despite our expected goals against being the same, no matter if Raya or Ramsdale was in the goal, he was saving less than he should, which met up with my eye test that from basically the time that Leno left the club and Matt Turner became the number 2, Ramsdale's level dipped to such a level where he was ranked like middle bottom of goalkeepers in the Premier League. Last season, Raya out of the picture. That was lining up with my eye test. Like, Ramsdale's level has dropped to a level where I'm just like, when Jamie Carragher said we're not winning the league with him, I was like, I don't know if we are. I don't know if we are. So, and when we went for, like, looking at Ray at Brentford and looking at Ramsdale last season, I thought David Raya is the better goalkeeper. I'm not going to deny that Raya has had shaky moments. I won't deny that at all. Like, he's had shaky moments that he has to clean up. But I need Ramsdale's save percentage. I need goals. I need something there that makes me feel like Ramsdale is the better goalkeeper without it being about an emotional response to how people feel like he was treated. Because the math just ain't mathin' for me. Like, it's just not.
Listen, I agree with you in some respect, but I I'm very
But
shocked.
Raya
I'm very
doesn't
shocked.
make you
I'm
feel
very shocked.
comfortable. I
And that's the
totally like
thing, right?
I get
That's the
that.
thing.
I totally understand that, but I think cuz I felt less comfortable with Ramsdale last season. That like
Mm,
I the same feelings that you guys are feeling for Raya, I felt like that every time Ramsdale got the ball last season. And when
mm,
he started
mm.
hoofing it long, it pissed me off. Like cuz I'm just like you're just giving away possession and like here's my main
Do
my
you do you
main good.
Oh, sorry, go on. No, go
All
on, sorry.
my main point with this is that despite Raya's mistakes and people not feeling comfortable with him, I still feel like people are avoiding the main reason why Ramsdale was dropped. And Ramsdale said Arteta wanted him to play more as a center back when in possession,
Mhm,
but he wasn't comfortable with it and they compromised, right? Now, when
mhm,
you watch Raya play, you see that he's playing a lot higher. Like, I'll show you guys a graph on that. Like, Raya plays a lot higher. He plays more like a center back, whatever. But Raya's more comfortable with it. And
mm,
Arteta asked Raya to play like that. And we face fewer shots against big teams with Raya in the goal. I think there's some ripple effects that people don't really see that are coming from Raya playing the way that he plays, despite the shakiness. And if a manager asks you and wants you to play a certain way, I don't think you guys should be compromising. I think the manager should get what he wants. Ramsdale can play out of the back like Raya. He chooses not to because he's not brave enough to do it. And I think that's just
mm,
as simple as it becomes. Like, it's not really about the mistakes. Like, Arteta's never going to drop you from making mistakes doing what he's asking you to do. But he will drop you if you're not doing what he's asking you to do and it's equally hurting us. So
mm,
Raya's a better like a stylistic fit, and he's brave enough to play from the back under pressure, which is what the manager wants. And even if you argue about making mistakes, and even those like Raya's made the same mistakes as Ramsdale, blah blah blah, the math just ain't mathing for me, and I just feel as though like people are asking me to give Kai so much time because he needs time to settle. But Raya hasn't gotten anywhere near that level of patience because people are emotionally invested in Ramsdale. And in
mm,
the end of the day, for me, if it came down to like, if you said, Jess, like, Arteta wants Ramsdale in the goal because stylistically that's what he wants. But the stats said that Ramsdale was a much better goalkeeper. I would back you on
mhm,
that. I'd say, you know what? Stylistically, it doesn't matter because, like, I see that Ramsdale is the better goalkeeper. But when I see the save percentage, I'm looking at the long passes completed, I'm seeing all these things, high claims, and the fact that,
mhm,
again, Ramsdale was performing like one of the worst goalkeepers in the league, not only at the beginning of this season, but the end of last season. It's just not enough for me to be like, let me not give Raya time. Because again, people are asking me to give Kai Havertz time because he needs to adapt. He needs more time. He hasn't played an Arsenal system before. Raya's not getting that same backing because of the emotional attachment to Ramsdale. And I don't think that that's fair. I think if we get to January and Raya's not performing and Kai Havertz is not performing, then we need to have real conversations. But Raya didn't have a preseason, nothing. He came in like 5 games ago. And because people love Ramsdale, I do think they're being quite harsh on Raya when honestly, Ramsdale's level dropped way too low for me, you know?
mm.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the situation.
Fair enough.
I'm open to the idea that eventually Raya doesn't become better. Like, it's not clear. But I'm
Mm,
actually confident that he will because I
mm,
don't think
mm.
Ramsdale has been as good as people have said, especially in last season. That's